Pornography consumption became a habit for me. I know that because I can recall the power the craving had over me when I wasn't using it. I can recall being overwhelmed with a numbness and having a faceless desire. It's an odd feeling because my addiction always prevented me from being in a state where my desires weren't always satiated. I rarely knew the state of craving until I went down the road to recovery, intentionally denying my habit of its reward. The calling card of addiction is not how you feel while you're in the addictive cycle, rather, it's how you feel when you're trying to get out. In my experience, the craving is perhaps the harder nemesis to lick than the underlying cause of the addiction. It is something you truly have no control over. Your brain is wired to work in habitual cycles. Our brains are biological computers with a built-in efficiency programming, making sure routine tasks aren't occupying bandwidth in those overactive frontal lobes. Other species do it too, primarily because they don't have the luxury of complex thought like us humans. So, how do we overcome this craving dilemma? Cravings are difficult to overcome. However, given enough time, a craving will dissipate. But waiting for a craving to go away without doing anything else is a recipe for relapse. A more proactive approach might be to invest some time in habit replacement. Habit replacement is a fairly simple concept. You identify a habit cycle and replace it with a new habit, preferably something healthy. The first concept of all habits is that our memory is at work in forming them. Specifically, habits are stored in the basal ganglia, the lower part of your brain that other animals share. Your pet's ability to know what cues means it's dinner time are using the same brain part that you do in forming associations. Every habit has three components. Number one, a cue or a trigger with an automatic behavior to start. Number two, a routine, which is the behavior itself. And number three, the reward, which is how your brain learns how to remember the pattern for the future. We all form habits through repetition. This is where the concept of habit replacement loops comes in. We know we want to stop using porn, but we can't. So we want to replace the porn use with something else using repetition. Before we get into habit replacement, let's first discuss porn use as a habit. The initial step is identifying the cues that get you into porn use. This was difficult for me, and it might be difficult for you too. Maybe just looking at a woman's breast triggers you, but often our cues might be more hidden. Perhaps anxiety triggers the cycle, or maybe an anxiety agent like a nagging wife or annoying coworker. There might be multiple cues, but they all hold one thing in common, that eventually you go looking for porn. A good tactic is to write a narrative. Think about the times you started using porn. Pay particular attention on what got you there. Perhaps you don't feel the urge to do it until you sit down at your computer, or maybe the urge kicks in when you're working at the gym and see a hot girl in yoga shorts. Find your cues and try to document the chain of events that got you to porn. The next step is to highlight the list of cues, those things that get your brain thinking about how you can view porn. The first attempt likely will miss cues, so just keep in mind that it's a working document and you are free to update it as you discover more. The most effective way to replace a habit is to find a way to retain the old cue that triggered the behavior and identify and automate a new routine that leads to a new outcome. So if seeing a sexy advertisement on a magazine is your trigger, you write that down and then put a new routine in its place. And you have to make sure that the routine has a reward. Let me share one of my alternative routines with you. If I'm sitting at my computer at night, I will occasionally feel a deep craving for sex and want to use porn. This is because I've spent years in front of the computer at night doing nothing but porn surfing. My new routine is yoga. I have a few channels bookmarked on YouTube that have a few yoga sessions, no more than 15 to 20 minutes, where I can just break away and concentrate on my mind and my body. At the end of my yoga, I usually feel a sense of peace and calm, which is my reward. After doing this over and over, I actually look forward to yoga. I also incorporate regular yoga sessions into my daily routine to help my mind settle on the good aspects of this exercise. And my craving urges have gradually gone away. I do, however, routinely break away from my computer work just to do yoga. even if the absence of the craving that I used to have for porn. Sometimes I just want to do it when I feel I need to have my mind cleared or if I'm hitting a creative block. I keep reinforcing the good habit when I'm around my cue, which is, in my case, just sitting at the computer at night. So, to recap, identifying your cues that lead you to using porn has to be done. Write them all down. If your porn use has a specific ritual, write that down too. Maybe you sit in a bathroom with a smartphone and break out the bottle of hand lotion. Whatever that routine is, write it down because it's the thing you're trying to avoid. Then, write down a new routine that you want to replace it with. Maybe it's doing a crossword or reading a book. That routine should be a practice you want in your life, something that is rewarding to you. And you could even consider enhancing your reward, perhaps as you give yourself a tasty snack after doing that new routine. Whatever helps reinforce the new behavior. For me, the feeling good sensation I got from yoga was reward enough. Exercise tends to give you an endorphin release that can give you a euphoric feeling. While I'm discussing feelings, sex addicts have a unique problem in that nothing will ever feel as good as an orgasm. This is where discipline comes in. Your new routine has to be enforced with discipline, meaning you must do them even if you don't want to. Your lizard brain won't listen to reason. It just imprints behaviors. The old behavior was reinforced with an orgasm, so don't expect it to go away quickly or quietly. I struggled for months with cravings. Just keep fighting through it. And in the back of your mind, just think about any other addict, for example, smokers. If you've ever been around an ex-smoker and watched them have to go through, whether it's habit replacement or just the fighting of cravings, you know it's an uphill battle, right? So just stick with it, stay positive, and just keep in mind, 15, 20 years ago, literally there were smokers everywhere, and now they're not around, right? It's hard to find a smoker. Well, a lot of those people worked through it. Why can't you? Last word of advice is to find a partner if you can. Go to a 12-step program if you can get a sponsor. If you don't want to go that route, find an accountability partner, either in your religious community or online. Maybe you find them on a forum. The partner should be somebody you can just call at a moment's notice and say, hey, I'm struggling. And they can talk to you and help you relate to the struggle. Finding partners in addiction recovery can encourage you when you are feeling weak. That's all. Thanks for listening and good luck on your road to recovery.